Bathroom Breaks and Bedtime Tales presents White Paper, Red Ink by Sevastian Winters. Inspired by true stories. He drops the money on the government overseer's desk like he's setting down a cup of coffee. 5 crisp dollars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, neatly placed between them. The overseer doesn't even pretend to hesitate. He stops writing mid-stroke, the red ink of his fountain pen bleeding a crescent onto the form. Then he looks up and he smiles. The man, Reverend Thomas Ellison, Jr., sits across from him, beside where I am forced to stand. He sits expectantly, as if sure of the overseer's decision before it is rendered, and simply smiles back. This is the moment I know I will lose my land, my father's land, the land of his father and his father before him. It's been my family's land since before Oklahoma was even a word. Before the white man, whose name they do not even remember to pronounce correctly anymore, ever set foot on a boat. Before he ever drew breath. The white man is tall, his hair a light golden straw, brushed back neat beneath a black felt hat. His suit fits him like it was made for someone richer, but clean. Expensive boots, pale skin, blue eyes like sky after ice. The overseer stamps a paper and slides it across to a federal witness who dutifully scrawls his name on the white paper, making the decision official, final. The Reverend folds it in half without reading it and tucks it into his coat. He stands, having never addressed me even once in our dispute. He tips his hat to the clerk, then turns and walks away, nearly bumping into my son Joseph as he lasciviously looks over the brown, young skin of my daughter Esther's legs, and then out into the bright morning air. He never even looked at me as he stole my land, not once. I have known him since childhood, when his family first showed up to our village, fresh from a boat in Ireland, back when this building didn't exist yet, when this was a village, our village. But that was before the white people came and decided to place one of their churches where our tribal longhouse once stood. His father had been kind, but not Thomas. He has always negotiated the world with the casually cruel weight that comes from confusing caretaking for ruling, a common misconception among the whites. The Reverend's concept of ownership is that it is granted by paper, not memory, not blood, not history nor heritage, but cruel, ungracious, unrelenting force of will. Joseph steps to me. I squeeze his hand. His fingers tighten back. Esther stays at the door, clearly uncomfortable with the way the men in the government office regard her, but unwilling to walk outside lest it be worse. There is safety in numbers, and I walk with my father's tomahawk. The overseer does not look up. I do not dare act with the familiarity required to take the now empty seat. We wait. We are always waiting. My feet ache, and I am nearly ready to give up, when at last the overseer looks up. He sighs, reaching for a blank form. Your name? Nita, daughter of Little Snake, Creek Nation, Tukvupche Band. You just gave the Reverend my land, the land that is supposed to be reserved for Indians. He glares threateningly and then picks up a piece of white paper with a red ink signature. I know you Injuns can't read, but if you could. I can read, I interrupt. I went to the same schoolhouse as the man you just gave my family's land to. His mother was the teacher. He studies me for a moment and sneers. So you are complaining that a man whose family invested in you by teaching you to read has taken what is rightfully his? That land has been in my family since before any white man ever came to this place. Even according to your government, that is Indian land, for purchase only by Indians. He points at the fraudulently delivered piece of paper on his desk. Says right here he is Indian. Where's your proof that you're Indian? That man brought official documents, and his name is on the Dawes registration. Is yours? I have no words. You cannot see my skin, my clothing? You cannot see that I am Indian? He waves me off. He appears both bored and aggravated. He is growing impatient. So am I. Name of head of household? My husband died, I say. Year of the snake bite. I run the home. He sighs, reaching for a blank form. Your name? Nita, daughter of Little Snake, Creek Nation, Tukvupche Band. He glances up, pen suspended. Spell it. I try, but my throat is dry. My emotions are many. My letters come out halting. I sound like I can't read or write well, as if, like so many, I only memorized the letters like songs, not meanings. He jots down something fast, sloppy. I thought you said you can read, he says. I can. Don't sound like it. Sounds to me like just another lying Injun. I do not respond. The tension between us tightens. Finally, after a few moments that feel like an eternity, he once again addresses his pen and paper and continues. Children? Joseph, 9. Esther, 15. Dates of birth? Esther was born the year after the great ice storm. Joseph came in the spring after my husband passed. He makes a sound with his tongue and scratches something down. Then, Location of current residence? Along the bend of Salt Creek, south of the Stone Bluff, the same spot my grandmother was born on, the same ground my people have lived on since before the removals. He stops writing. "You're on contested land," he says flatly. I blink. "It's ours." "There's a formal claim filed. It belongs to Thomas Ellison, Jr." My mouth goes dry. Who can I appeal to? He laughs. "You can't be serious. I make the decisions around here." "He is not Indian," I whisper. "He's enrolled," the overseer replies. "Had papers, signed affidavits, a letter from the bureau. He's got the documentation. Creek Injun. He was approved last month." "That land has our graves on it," I say. "My husband, my father, my son who died during the fever. He is buried beneath the cedar tree next to the east field." "Lady, are you thick? None of this matters. You're not on the roster. You have no proof you are even Injun, let alone who you say you are." "Everyone in this place knows me, knows my family." "So you think I am going to accept the words of a bunch of Injuns? You must think I'm stupid." "The white people also know me." "Lady, you got to lay off that peace pipe. That peyote will make you stupid. Ain't no white folks in the whole country gonna take the word of a "Injun?" I prompt, trying to get him to admit I am Indian. He catches himself. "Now, don't get smart with me, lady. Unless you have some proof, you gotta get on out of here before I gotta call the sheriff." "I have a letter," I say, "from Mr. Ellison's brother who lives in Virginia now. He is a preacher also. He baptized my father. He knew our family." I hand it over. The clerk glances at the bottom and tosses it aside. "Not notarized," he mutters. "Won't stand up to the commission." I can't breathe. "That's our home," I say. "You cannot just give it to him." He shrugs uncaringly and picks up the money Thomas Ellison gave him and shakes it as if it is proof. "He's got legal claim. You don't." He stamps something in red and sets it aside. The sound of the stamp echoes like a gunshot. He does not look up again. "You have 30 days to vacate the land. After that, the Bureau has authority to remove trespassers. Anyone found resisting may be prosecuted for unlawful occupation of federal allotment property." "Trespassers?" I repeat. The word hits harder than I expected. Joseph stares up at me. Esther steps toward me from her place at the door. "I suggest you find another place to settle," the clerk adds, already reaching for the next file. We've lived there since before Oklahoma was a word. Then you should have gotten your papers in order. We walk home in silence. The air has a sharpness to it, spring struggling against winter. The earth smells of damp leaves and thawing mud. Esther lags behind. Joseph walks ahead, shoulders stiff, fists in his pockets. He doesn't cry. He never does. The tent is cold, the fire dead. I start water boiling while Joseph chops kindling. Esther lays down on the quilt and doesn't speak. I spoon out cornmeal and dried berries, stir them into a paste. It's all we have left. Joseph sets the pot on the fire and watches it bubble. "Was it that man?" he finally asks. "Yes." "The one with the yellow hair?" "Yes." Joseph looks at me for a long moment. Then he says, "He's stealing our land." "Yes." He stares into the pot. "They'll take it all," he says, "if they can." I don't answer. I know he's right. I walk back into town 2 days later, alone. I find Reverend Ellison outside the church talking with townsfolk. His coat is long and black, his hat taller than most. He stands beside his son, Esther's age. The boy regards me with disdain. He is laughing with the clerk, the silent witness to the theft of my property. He's holding a small leather folder in one hand. Thomas sees me before I speak and stops smiling. "Nita," he says, "I understand there's been some confusion." "Confusion?" I say. "I claimed a parcel," he says carefully, "under my legal right as an enrolled member." "You are not Indian." "My great-grandmother was half Creek on her mother's side," he lies. The clerk hands him the leather folder. Thomas taps it for emphasis. "Says so right in here." "Your family came from Ireland. You still sound of their tongue. You have no knowledge of our ways. You've never spoken a word of the language. Have you forgotten I was here when your family first arrived?" He dismisses me. "I passed all the requirements. I submitted the forms." "You bribed a man." He stiffens. "That's an accusation, and you should apologize." "You're stealing land my family has lived on since before your great-grandparents were born." "That ain't what the law says." I shake my head. "Your laws are lies. It was ours. You just had better paper." His smile returns, colder now. "You should be careful, Nita. The government doesn't look kindly on agitators, especially those who can't prove they belong." I don't have $5 to buy what's already mine. He says nothing. The preacher puts a hand on his son's shoulder and turns him away. You need to be off of my land in 28 days, 2 moons, he says, taunting me. I think I will build an outhouse from the wood of that old oak tree you pitch your tent under. I do not respond. I do not give him the satisfaction of my tears. I leave. That night, I sit beneath the cedar tree where my husband is buried. I run my fingers across the packed dirt, tracing the shape of the cross we marked in stone. Esther joins me. They're going to come with wagons, she says. Make us leave. I know. They might take Joseph away if they think you're breaking the law. I close my eyes. I've heard the stories. Families separated, children sent to schools in other states, promises of education that became years of silence. We'll go before that happens, I say. Esther nods. We'll find somewhere else. But we both know what that means. Not home, just somewhere else. We leave before the 30 days are up. I carry what I can. Joseph carries the kettle, the quilt, and the cooking knife. Esther carries what she can as well. We are defeated. We walk east, toward Wetumpka. There's a hollow near the tree line where another family from our band has settled, those who weren't on the rolls either. The path is muddy. The wind is sharp. Our feet bleed. When we stop, we don't talk about what we left behind. We don't talk about the cedar tree, or the bluff, or the stones with no names, just memories. We build a new fire. We boil the last of our beans, and we sleep beneath a borrowed tarp. Years pass. Joseph grows tall, strong, marries. Esther, too. They have children. None of them are enrolled. None of them can claim head rights or land or federal assistance. They live by sweat, by trade, by memory. Thomas Ellison Jr. becomes a state representative, sits on a commission for Indian affairs, gets photographed at tribal events, draped in beadwork, feathers gifted to him by people who don't know or don't care. He stands on my land, now his land, and gives speeches about unity. He builds a house where the cedar tree once stood. The graves are gone. I see him once, years later, at a market in Okmulgee. He acts as if he doesn't recognize me, but I know him. I know his eyes, his hair, the boots that never scuffed on real soil. He passes by me as if I am wind. My granddaughter asks me one night if we were ever truly Indian like her mother tells her. We were, I say. We are. But they say we're not on the list. The list doesn't know everything, I say. The land knew us. That's what matters. But we don't live there anymore. No, I say, but it still remembers. She frowns. How do you know? I press her hand to the earth. Because I remember, I say. And that's how the land does too. The land never needed paper. It only needed footsteps. But the men with red ink wrote us out anyway. And now our names live only in the dirt, the river, the hush between leaves. But we are still here, and the ledger still lies. Author's note: while this story is a work of fiction, the events it portrays are rooted in historical fact. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the United States government enacted the Dawes Act of 1887, a policy designed to assimilate Native Americans by dividing communal tribal land into individual allotments. To be eligible for land and U.S. citizenship under this policy, Native individuals had to be listed on the Dawes Rolls, a federal record of tribal enrollment. But the system was deeply flawed and widely abused. Many full-blooded Native Americans were denied enrollment, often because they didn't speak English, didn't trust the government, or simply weren't present during the census period. At the same time, white Americans were able to bribe officials, fabricate ancestry, or manipulate paperwork to be fraudulently added to the rolls. These individuals became known as 5 Indians, a reference to the small fee sometimes paid to secure enrollment. The result was the legal theft of native land that had been held in families and tribes for generations, transferred to those who could navigate or exploit, a system designed to erase indigenous identity. That legacy of erasure and dispossession continues to this day, as descendants of those denied enrollment still struggle for recognition, and those with no true tribal heritage continue to claim Native identity through stolen paper, not lived truth. This story is for all those whose names were never written down, but whose presence, like the land they walked, has never forgotten them.